Hey everyone, so before we get started in this video, yes, I did split up this special into separate videos for each individual game, and I only did that for your viewing pleasure and to give it just like smaller bite-sized videos as compared to an hour and a half commitment. So I did this for each and every single game. This intro will be in every single game. Yeah, just let's get right into it. And now my armor looks like everyone else's. Lame. All I have to add before we get started here is that some of you definitely wanted to see me suffer for some of these. Why must you hurt me? Either way, you didn't come here to see a Spartan talking to a wall. You came here to see what nonsense you and I came up with. You're up, Sky Me. Thank you again, little me. Well, it's a fuck, I already fucked up. While it's quite a lot to read, this challenge was simple but unforgiving. I don't know what triggered it, but I managed to bypass doing the armor diagnostics and go straight to Captain Keyes. What made this challenge especially difficult was the fact that I only had 6 shots per clip and 66 shots with full ammo because of the recession skull. And with the tough luck skull on, it took more than 1 clip for some enemies. Oh, and the eye patch skull reminded me of how bad of a shot I am. While it was unforgiving, the challenge wasn't too bad. I ran past whatever enemies I could, and by the time I reached the end, I was out of ammo. So I hoped that my marine allies would kill the last elite for me and so I could be on my way. I ran around for a bit, and while I waited, I actually triggered the end of the level. And reverse controls have returned. I'll pull up the controls really quick to show you what has changed. This one wasn't too bad this time around, and it was just time consuming because of how slow this mission is. I ran past and ignored the first lifeboat, used a grenade to jump this gap, activated the bridge, and carried on. When I made it to the second lifeboat, I decided to speed up this level by killing all the marines and moving on to the next lifeboat. I slowly cleared out all the Covenant here to get a Warthog and moved on. When I got to the third lifeboat, I decided to use the help of the Marines to kill the Covenant here, but once they were all dead, I decided to move on to the next and final lifeboat. When I did get to the final lifeboat, I led a Marine on the gun to help take care of the Covenant here, and after a few minutes, this level was beat and Foehammer came in for the pickup. Alright, I gotta go fast for this one. I will go ahead and say that 1, I don't like this level, and 2, I'm very unfamiliar with it, so I can't mess up or I will have to restart. The part time for this level is 20 minutes or under, so I really can't screw around. At first I tried running and gunning, but that got me killed, so I slowed down a little bit and prioritized killing the more dangerous enemies. I had a close call near the chasm, but thankfully I was able to outplay the elite. I picked up the invisibility and snuck up to the Covenant cruiser. When I got there, I got in a good vantage point, threw some of my grenades, and got some reinforcements. Taking out wave after wave of Covenant was fairly easy and quick, and I didn't have any problems taking out the hunters either. Once they were taken out, I made it inside the cruiser. Inside wasn't too bad, but I did end up getting a little lost, which obviously made me lose some time. I got even more lost once I passed the section with the sword zealot, who I gave the sweet release of death. I got turned around once it came time to find Captain Keyes, and by the time I did find him, I only had 2.5 minutes left. At that point, I couldn't waste any more time or have Captain Keyes die on me, so I followed the trail of bodies I left behind, killing any and all Covenant that were in my way. When I made it back to the control deck, or whatever this room is called, I killed the 2 Spec Ops sword elites and repeatedly meleeed this door in hopes of it speeding up the dialogue. It didn't work. But miraculously, the cutscene played after the dialogue was over. Seriously, I don't get this game. The door is typically supposed to open, then you run to this dropship, but oh well. Alright, in an attempt to make this one remotely possible, I turned on the bandana skull because I know damn well that there was never going to be enough needlers to beat this level on Legendary. And I am nowhere near good enough to even do this challenge without it. At the start, I had to wait for a Marine to kill a grunt with the needler so I can take it. After that, I ran past... Damn it. Okay, well, let's just try it again. After getting my hands on the needler again, I turned around to go to the security override. All the Covenant I had to fight to get to the security override was a real pain. The elites were incredibly persistent, it was nearly impossible to hit the jackals behind their shields, and the grunts just loved their plasma grenades. Dear lord, it was awful. Eventually I got to the spot with the hunters and kept my distance and just let the needles work their heat-seeking magic. I struggled even more afterwards. Before entering the security override station, there were even more Covenant waiting for me, and of course they were a pain as well. When I got into the building, I had to kill the other set of hunters that were hiding from me. Dude, come on, just let me through. My best course of action to kill these hunters was to lead one towards the controls and shoot it from a distance. Once the first one was dead, I repeated that same process for the second one. But it only got worse after the cutscene played. There was an entire squad of elites now in the same room as me, but what made that even worse was the fact that they're all invisible, and the needles can't heat seek anything that it can't see. I obviously was stuck here for a while because I only had 1 health, and whenever I slightly poked my head out from hiding, they would all light me up with their plasma rifles. After many failed attempts, I decided to use grenades just for this section. Whoops. Once I made sure they were all dead, I went back to the Needler. Once I got down the hill, I snuck around to the cartographer, but even trying to get in was incredibly difficult because it was heavily guarded. I hid in this cave here in hopes of not being killed, then just let loose with all the needles. It took a while, but I eventually killed the hunters and everything else. Okay, you're a dick. See what I mean by they're persistent? Let's try that again. Just dodge and weave and we'll be... Okay, that's it. I'm going down to heroic. Say what you will, but I'm on a time crunch and I was not having a blast. After lowering the difficulty, everything that I did on the legendary attempt went exactly the same here. Except for this time around, I stuck to the Needler and only the Needler for the Spec Op elites. When I got back to the mini cave, I had a little bit of an easier time actually getting into the cartographer. Once I got in, I decided to try and skip going through this level like normal and jump down to the lower level, but this took a few tries. After many attempts, I did end up making it and extracted the map info. Now, I would just have to make my way back up there. It really wasn't that hard. I was just being very impatient and wanted to move on to the next level by that point. The most annoying part about the run back up was all the damn jackals. No matter how I went about it, they didn't give me any time to breathe, and I had to wait for one of them to taunt me so I could even get a chance at killing them. I even tried running past everything, but the hunters weren't having that. After all of that, I decided it was time to slow down and kill everything one by one. And it should come as no surprise, but this worked. When I took the slightest bit of damage, I hid. When I had to reload, I hid. And when it came time to killing the hunters, I kept my distance and... Hey, you're getting too close. Back up. Are you fucking kidding me? Come on. Let's run it again. This time around, after killing all the jackals, I waited for a checkpoint before taking on the hunters again. I gave them barrage after barrage of needles, and after a few minutes I killed them and was able to progress on. And lastly, the Zealot. You don't scare me anymore. I've grown up and you can't... I feel like I deserve that. Okay, let's end this, you gold bastard. Once he was taken out, I killed the last squad of Spec Op elites and finally beat this level. Even after lowering the difficulty, that was still awful. Okay, finally, a simple challenge. Thankfully, right from the start, I already had a Magnum, so all I would need to do is get a plasma pistol. That was easy. After getting both pistols, I made a dead sprint through the level and only killed whatever enemies I would need to. When I made it down to the ground, I got into this Warthog and drove straight into the indoor bridge. I took out the hunters without any issue, made my way back outside, and stuck around all the Covenant thanks to the invisibilities they just leave lying around. Also, I'm just going to leave this fine example of why I absolutely love Combat Evolved's mechanics. Second time around, I did make it inside and continued to run through the facility as fast as I could. Thankfully, there was plenty of ammo through the building, and that really made this level a breeze. In no time at all, I got outside and stole a Banshee to fly down to the control room. I even took out the Zealot no problem and all the other Covenant, but of course the elites had something else to say about that. Second time around, I killed the Zealot no problem again, but alas... You know what they say, third time's a charm. I killed the Zealot, grunts, and elites, the whole shebang, so let's move on. This one's simple enough. I already had an assault rifle to begin with, so that made that easier. I made a dash towards my objective, got a Needler for my second full auto weapon, and found Jenkins' helmet and footage. One horrifying cutscene later, and now I have my first encounter with the Flood. They're nothing too difficult, and the AR just rips them to shreds. Nothing too special or noteworthy happened in this level because I was dead set on just running back to the elevator. Like always though, I got at least a little bit turned around, but eventually found my way to the elevator. When I got outside, I made it to the tower, stood my ground, and got saved by the floating ball of lies. This challenge is pretty much the same as my only plasma weapon run, but this time around I got the choice of the Needler as well. Since I don't start with any Covenant weapons, I had to wait for a carrier form to blow up one of its allies that had my desired weapon. After acquiring a plasma rifle and barely escaping, I could start making my way through the level. The library, like always, is super annoying and just a very prolonged level. The challenge this time around wasn't really that hard, but of course I set myself up to fail because trying to speed past everything. And look, I'm gonna be honest, there'll never be a time where I'm happy to talk about this level, so I'm just gonna mention the good stuff and move on to the next level. I, once again, got bested by this rocket flood that decided to play hide and seek. but I blew it up on my second go around. I made the silly mistake of not being aware of my surroundings and jumped through this gate, only to find out, of course, I could have just gone underneath through the tunnel. And after 25 minutes of running through the flood-infested library, I got the index. This challenge, while easy to understand, is quite strange, honestly. When I first saw this one get submitted, I blew it off as not possible, but later on decided to at least give it a try. So here we are. I can't kill elites. At all. Ever. So before starting this challenge, I turned on the score HUD so that way I can make absolutely sure at the end of the level that I didn't kill any. The first few elites I encountered were inside the control room, and all I had to do was kill the other Covenant in the room and ran past them to open up the gates outside. When I got outside, I just jumped down the mountainside, picked up the rocket launcher just in case, and ran straight to the Banshee. Okay, take two. When I got to the pulse generator, I shut it down, flew down to the ice bridge here, and ran past more elite encounters. The challenge wasn't too bad until I reached the hallway that had the rocket flood in it. The biggest problem I had was trying to get past the two elites in the same hallway. The best course of action was to let the flood and elites take each other out, but of course I still fell victim to the rockets. The second attempt went a lot better because I was able to sneak past the elites and hide before the rocket flood spotted me, so I was actually able to get the drop on it. When I got to the bridge, I made a fatal error in judgment trying to dodge the flood. Second time around, I actually got across the bridge and took the elevator down to the ground level. I hopped in a ghost to make my way to the second pulse generator, but got bullied by a Banshee. Thank you, Banshee, for reminding me of my middle school years. Like always, the second time around, I was able to get my own Banshee successfully, blew up all the flood that was in the pulse generator room, and shut down said generator. I took the Banshee back down while being absolutely sure to avoid killing any of my Sangheili brothers. When I got inside the tunnel, I killed all the flood without any issue, got back outside, and got stuck here for a bit because there was a lot of rocket flood and elites, so I had to be very careful not to get killed. I said, not get killed. The best course of action here was to hug the right side of the chasm and sneak up on the Covenant in hopes of being able to steal a ghost. While it did take a few attempts, I did end up getting a ghost and drove to the Banshees. I managed to steal one, flew back up the chasm, shut down the final pulse generator, and checked the after report. I did not expect to get that first try. This challenge was supposed to be done on Legendary, but I didn't have the time nor the patience for that, so yes, I did put on easy just to help myself out. Besides, some random dude here just wanted to see me suffer, submitting all these ideas that he did. This challenge, true, wasn't that bad. I sped through the entire level, and whenever I did somehow lose some health, I immediately reset to the last checkpoint. Like, I literally made it to Captain Keyes in under 9 minutes, so yeah, this one wasn't too bad. Of course, I did make the fatal mistake of thinking I could run through all these Covenants, so I had to reset. Second time around, like usual, I got out successfully, hijacked a Banshee, and beat this level slightly over 10 minutes. This one was rough and probably my least favorite of the bunch. I did specifically choose this challenge though because I wanted to do the Warthog run with reverse controls, but we'll get there when we get there. As for the rest of the level, it was a slow burn because I was getting so confused anytime I encountered an enemy. Once I got a shotgun, that made this challenge a little bit easier because at least that way I was a powerhouse. I was able to make it to the bridge of the ship relatively easily, but of course what came after was the worst part, blowing up all the fusion reactors. For once I actually found the armory and was able to get a rocket launcher to make the process a little bit easier, but nonetheless it was still very difficult. No matter how many times I did this challenge, I kept getting my controls mixed up. I couldn't aim to save my life, and all the surrounding enemies were a thorn in my side. It took me so many attempts and around 20 minutes, but I was able to destroy the fusion reactors and start the Warthog run. And speaking of said Warthog run, it wasn't too bad for the most part, but the added jank of CE's terrible vehicle controls on top of the reverse controls made for an interesting drive. My best method of staying on track was I would constantly hold forward on the right stick to help driving while steadily inching to the left stick in case I needed to make a turn. This method ended up working out great because I was able to beat the Warthog run on the first try. Well, that's 2 of 6 games so far, so I'm gonna go ahead and hand the microphone back to little me. I'm so tired. Hey, Sky Me? What's up, little me? Why did you allow some of these challenges? Yes, you were the one that talked about them, but I was the one that went through it. That was awful. Or don't answer me, that's fine. That's 2 of 6, so I'm gonna go to Halo 2 now.